Hello guys! So we're going to be making hydrangea today. This soap gave me a battle and you will see why. I'm going to be showing you the fail, the good side, everything. So I was inspired by Wedgwood porcelain. You can see some of the Wedgwood classic porcelain right there. And this is a little sample 1 pound batch that I made because the fragrance that I originally wanted was well known to misbehave, but it was so beautiful and I had to try it out, so I made this little batch and it actually turned out really great. But unfortunately, due to the current social circumstances, I couldn't get all of my regular ingredients, so I had to make some adjustments with my oils, and that came to bite me right up in the butt. But anyways, let's get started. So I always start with my embeds and I lay them out on a separate mold just to make sure that everything fits and looks nice. And this is the blue that I'm trying to go for, the Wedgwood blue. I've already colored my oils, as you can see, just giving them a little bit of a mix. I like to pre-mix my oils and everything. So this is what we're going for. And I'm definitely going to be popping this. So this is the original fragrance, Hydrangea from Candle Science. It is absolutely beautiful, but it does have really bad reviews. But I was going to go in, since my little sample batch worked, but as you can see, I didn't even blend this for 10 seconds and it is already super thick. I'm basically plopping it into the mold. This causes a lot of issues, and I will show you now once we cut this soap, but I kind of went ahead and was praying to the soap gods that no soap gremlins were in my soap. But as you can see, it's already like super thick, very chunky. It gave me no time to work. I have this really huge spatula I like to use to kind of even out the top, but it was very difficult. You'll see now when I start putting on embeds. I'm basically trying to push in these embeds into the soap and nothing, it's not budging, like they're just sitting on top. So this was another thing that I was worried about. First of all, my time was very limited because, the soap got hard so fast, and, the embeds were not going to be properly placed inside the soap. So it was a rush. And here is the soap. There's a lot of uneven spacing, which I'm a perfectionist, and to me that's and the texture on top is very rough. So I went ahead with this, and I thought, maybe with some piping I could fill in those areas. And yeah, so I did the smallest batch of soap I've ever made. This was probably like 2 ounces of soap. So I'm going to blend it in with the little frother, and then I've got a leaf piping tip and a star piping tip ready to go. I just prepped one bag because it's the same color, so we can just switch out the tips. But yes, this is the tiniest little batch of soap ever. But I didn't want to be wasteful. I always make a little bit of extra white soap batter when I make white, just because I save it for soap dough. But this time I just decided to do that little, enough to fill a part of the piping bag. And here you can see it's almost at the texture that I wanted, at the consistency that I wanted. Not quite piping consistency, but sometimes I just put them into the bag and let them sit there for a little bit, just so everything's ready to go. And it's just easier for me. And unfortunately, I did not film the piping. Anyways, it was gonna go to the trash. You can see right here, this is an epic fail. Even you can see, there's lye pockets, there's fragrance pockets. This is totally unacceptable and something that I would never ever sell to my customers or use on myself. So unfortunately, this batch got rebatched and thrown into the crock pot, and I actually was able to save it. You can see there's huge pockets of just liquid. This is either lye or fragrance. I actually did a zap test on this little end piece and it stung like a you know. Yeah, so this is totally not usable. The color actually isn't great. It's not exactly what I was going for. So nope, let's do this all over again. So I made new embeds, thankfully. I always have a little bit of extra white soap dough hanging around. And this time I put them a little bit closer together. I think it's going to be a little bit nicer. And so this is the little sample bars. I think they're so cute. So the color, I want to go a little bit more pastel this time. I am going to C-pop this soap too, just to make sure that the color, it gels lightly and the color comes through, but I think it would benefit with a little bit of titanium dioxide just to get a little bit more of a pastel tone, like a creamier tone. So at this point, the whole batter is going to get TD, so to save time and avoid adding more liquid to my soap, I just add it directly into my lye solution and mix it up. So now I'm just checking the temperature between my oils and my lye. They're around 82, 84, which is a good sweet spot. I like to work as cool as possible or room temperature, but 82, you know, that's a good number, so I'm gonna go for it. And now that I know that I'm working with a slightly different oil recipe, I'm gonna be very careful. Just pouring my lye solution into my oils, but apparently I didn't mix my TD well enough, so now I've got a bunch at the bottom of the jug, and I'm trying to scrape it out and maybe strain it, but it's a total womp fail. I guess I just lost a bunch of TD. It happens, you know. You guys see all the pretty stuff on Instagram, but there's so much that goes behind the scenes. There's so many fails. I can't even tell you how many fails. So just stick blending until past emulsion, just so I have enough time to work. So part of the new blend I'm working with is olive oil pumice, and it's infamous for speeding up trace a little bit. So I just want to get this as liquid as possible because I am making a slight change in the design. I just realized I thought it would look a little bit better. So I'm setting aside some batter and I'm gonna leave white. And this is going to account for part of the new design as well as some of the piping. And then these are the colors I'm using. I'm actually blending a few different colors to get where I want. I'm using cashmere and celestial silver from Nurture Soap. I absolutely love them. I didn't want it to be as bright as the previous failed soap was. Still wanted it to be a little bit more pastel, but I wanted it to have that kind of periwinkle, more like cornflower undertone. So right now it's kind of a slate gray, so I'm adding a little bit of purple vibrance just to kick it up a little bit and just make it a little bit more bluer. I think I'm getting very close because once I C-pop this, I think the color is really gonna, you know, come through. Just a tiny bit more cashmere and I think we're good to go. So now I'm going to set aside a little bit of the blue because I'm going to do a stripe of the blue first. And the new fragrance I'm using is Cotton Tree from Candle Science. It's absolutely beautiful. I actually asked some other soaper friends from La Ceiba del Jabón in Puerto Rico soap group, and they're huge Candle Science fans, and they helped me, you know, decide whether or not to use this color. This fragrance, and they were so helpful because I was like, I don't want another hydrangea mess. But it does accelerate slightly, but it does give me a good amount of working time. And again, it's also my new recipe, my temporary recipe. So you know, I just did a small layer of this at the bottom, and now I want to add a little bit of a white layer. So I'm not completely happy with how the soap base turned out. I'm just adding a little bit more of properly dispersed TD. And this white, I'm actually not going to add any fragrance because TD itself accelerates, and you can see already this is like a medium, it's getting to a medium trace right now. So I want that line to be as you know, uniform as possible. So I didn't add any fragrance because it was going to get a lot thicker, and you know, I want to work as smart as possible. And it's such a thin line that really doesn't make any difference if I don't put any fragrance or not. So I'm just gonna even that out, tap, 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 and pop any air bubbles and give it a good smack on the floor. Make sure that looks nice and even. So now I'm gonna add the rest of the batter, and look how thick this got. This doesn't even have the fragrance yet, so you know it's rush time. So I just dumped in the rest of the fragrance. My recipe calls for the full bottle, and just, you know, whip, 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 mix it, and get into the mold. I always use the spatula to break the fall a little bit just to make sure that that line is very nice and crisp. But look how textured it already is, and you know, that's the thing with soap. Like, you can change one small element in your recipe, it's gonna change completely how it behaves. It could be better than you thought, it could be worse. Like this, I was in uncharted territory right here. Because even though you run your recipes through soap calculators and everything, you think you've got an idea, you think you've got it down, it's very different every single time. And again, at this point, I'm just rushing to get all that soap in the mold. I'm going to flatten it out as much as possible. I'm also going to give it a good smack on the floor to make sure I don't have any air bubbles. But this soap batter does look way better than the first one. The first one, I think it even got a little bit of a false trace. 1 second, I'm going to be smacking this again on the floor. And yeah, so now I just want to make sure that this is as smooth as possible, as smooth as I can possibly get it, because you know, when you have such a thick trace like this, it's very hard to get a very smooth surface. Ideally, you pour at a very thin trace or even at emulsion, so that soap kind of soups. It's like a soupy batter and it evens out, but this one, we're working with texture, so I want to get as smooth as possible, at least down the center, because on the sides I know I'm going to be putting some embeds and piping, so this is just the perfectionist in me. And unfortunately, I did not have the time to film myself putting embeds, but you already saw the previous one, so you have an idea of what it looks like. But now I am able to pipe, and this is the perfect piping consistency. So the soap did accelerate, you know, harden pretty fast. So as you can see, I'm kind of securing in place some of the embeds with the piping, but you know, it's just giving it a little bit more reinforcement. I want to make sure that those embeds stay put when I cut the soap and when you use the soap and when it ships. So the piping definitely helps, and I'm just adding a lot of little leaves. I want to make sure it looks really lush, like a big bush of hydrangea flowers. I'm imagining like walking down the countryside and you see these beautiful fields just lined with beautiful hydrangea walls, just fences of hydrangeas. So that's kind of where the mood for this soap is going. I think the fragrance is beautiful. So it's a cotton tree, it's like a fresh, clean scent, but it has a beautiful floral undertone. So it's not like clean laundry. No. It's a beautiful balance. I'm really happy this ended up being the fragrance, because I think you guys are gonna love it. So now this is going into the oven, C-pop, have it gel a little bit, and this is the final color. I was able to smooth out the top a little bit more, and I love this is the blue. This is Wedgwood blue. So now I'm gonna cut, and you can see that little stripe gave it a little bit of extra oomph, I think. I think now it looks like Wedgwood porcelain. Before it was just like a solid blue, and sometimes I do that, but I think this little stripe of white definitely helped, and I'm so excited to get this out for you guys because it's such a beautiful barf. So I think it's perfect for Mother's Day, and yeah, so pretty, so pretty. I'm so happy. It gave me a battle, but here we are. We did it. We've got our hydrangea soap. I had to make this design happen. I've been holding on to it since last year. So you can get yours May 2nd at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at lilosuds.com. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!